are now watching the College Baseball Insider Show.
It's behind him. This is hammered. Left field, and we are tied. Wow.
Now, here are your hosts, giving you an inside look into the top matchups.
What is up, world? We are back at it. We are excited. College baseball is, 2 weeks away? It feels like tomorrow. I cannot wait. I hope you guys have had a good off season. For those of you who caught our college football show, welcome back. It's been, about a month? So, Q, what's up?
It's the greatest time of the year. Sorry,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to retweet this show out. I'm not great technologically.
That's fine. So as you can see, this preseason top 25 show, we're just basically going to be going through the guide. I hope you all have gotten your hands on that and have gotten to read up on a lot of information that we put into that. Shout out to Johnny V, Noah, Cameron, Brock, and Smitty, who's not with us today, for contributing with all of their information, as well as my co-host here, Q, for what he put into this thing. I butchered that. This is terrible.
That's fine. You only had all season to work it.
Yeah. So yesterday was my son's birthday. He turned 12, and he had 6 kids spend the night. And as you can imagine, a bunch of 12-year-olds, they did not go to bed. They said they were going to stay up all night. They made it till about 4 or 5 a.m. I heard one of them get up to use the bathroom about 6, and I thought, God bless, y'all have not gone to sleep. But anyways, we're here, energy drink in hand. It's not time for a cold beer yet, but we're going to go through the top 25. Q, do you have any initial thoughts on the top 25 before we get into it?
Yeah, we talked obviously all season long as we start breaking this down. So last year it was really down to 5 teams, maybe even 4, and then there was a hefty gap in between. I think we're similar but different in a sense, and what I mean by that is I don't think it's the same 4 teams per se. I think you probably have a closer gap than you did last season. I'd probably say there's 7 or 8 teams this year versus 3 or 4 that could easily make a run, and there's a couple teams that within that on paper, and I'll break it down in a second, but like a quick example, Texas A&M, right? They could easily be in that group with what their on paper roster looks like, but we could also see that being where they just don't pan out. It's a bunch of quote unquote all-stars together and it just doesn't gel. So they could be one of the, the mid-tier or the worst teams, and maybe one of the teams that preseason hype to actual hype is one of the biggest fall-offs. We just don't know. So anything in this preseason guide, yes, take it in, be realistic about it. We haven't seen anybody play. We're going off last year's stuff based on returnees, transfer portal, but they still have to play. And we have a decent idea. We're not 100% accurate. If we were, we'd be billionaires. So
that's the last few preseason top 25 that were eventual national champions, they were preseason ranked. LSU was obviously number 1. The year before that, it was Ole Miss. They were preseason ranked number 6. Before that, I think it was Vanderbilt. They were preseason ranked number 1, if I'm going back correctly. So, I mean, like you said, really, you've got your top tier teams, and then you've kind of got everybody else. And I think that's been indicative in the odds that we've seen. For those who follow us on Twitter, I tweeted out Jeff Davis over at Circa. He does really good work in college baseball bookmaking. He tweeted out Circa's futures, and those are a good marker to use to kind of compare with other books, because he doesn't copy the lines. So if you get Clemson plus 4,000 at Circa and they're plus 2,100 at Bet Rivers or DraftKings, obviously he's a little bit lower on Clemson than somewhere else, and vice versa on other teams you can get value on. So just keep that in mind. Shop around, always get the best line. For me, top 25. Glad to see so many mid-majors crack the preseason top 25. We'll see if it holds. I feel like, Kansas State is a very popular team here in the top 25. Coming off an okay year last year, Owen Barema was a guy that we, bet on a couple times. And then they've got maybe the best closer in college baseball and Tyson Neighbors coming back. But I don't know. I think Kansas State's going to have a tough time this year. Outside of that, I mean, we'll wait and see. I think Texas may be a little too low in the rankings. I probably would have bumped them up a little bit, but we will see. So let's get right into it with the number one team in Wake Forest.
Well, hey, why don't you go back and just before we go to that, the colors, the A minus, just kind of
cover that,
break it down.
Okay.
Obviously we know it, but somebody reading it or watching this may not quickly.
Yeah. So good call. So basically D1 baseball does their scouting report, and it's on a 20/80 scale. So what I've done is taken offense, defense, and then pitching and just average those out. So like pitching would be your experience and intangibles mixed with starting rotation, bullpen. And then defense is going to be your fielding defense and speed, also intangibles. And then offense is obviously hitting, power, another round of intangibles, speed for base running. So that's kind of where they all grade out. As you can see right there, the top five, really the bread and butter of this. And then you've got everybody else, or I guess top six. Don't want to leave off TCU there. No, that would be five.
It'd be five. Let's count.
I couldn't see the thing.
No,
the camera
fine.
was in the way. Anyways, so if anybody has any questions, hit us up in the comments. But that is that. Are we ready to move on to Wake Forest?
Yep.
All right. Wake Forest, we saw them lose in the intro video. Tommy White walked it off in extra innings.
Semis.
Just absolute heartbreaker. Wake Forest loses Rhett Lauder, Sean Sullivan, and they get the biggest get to me was Chase Burns coming over from Tennessee, paired with Josh Hartle. I feel like their pitching rotation is, right up there with Arkansas's, and we'll get to that. And some of the best in the country. So they lost a lot on offense. Obviously, Adam Cesare, Brock Wilkin, they're gone. They get in
Lucas
Seaver
Castillo
King.
Transferred.
Yeah, the name goes on. Tommy
Ethan
Hawk.
Tommy Hawk. Yeah,
Tommy Hawk.
But his brother came. His brother's on the team.
I saw that.
Yeah,
all right, but they do have Nick Kurtz, who big bat last year, that did really well, 24 home runs. So do you think Wake Forest gets back to Omaha with this?
Yeah, I do.
Lack of offense. Okay, good.
I do. And the reason, yeah. So, and I kind of wanted to jump on this. So you and I were texting back and forth. At one point we were all high on this team, right? And then we kind of got to that point as a researcher. Man, they lost a lot on offense. But and then we even talked about Chase Burns. He was kind of like a spot starter last year, like long reliever. I mean, he had a gem in the College World Series, pitched 5 scoreless against Stanford. But I think he almost improves, right? So he does have some control issues. Wake Forest has figured out pitching to a science. They are the most advanced, and they call it the pitching lab. They're the most advanced analytical pitching staff in the country by far. I think that's going to benefit him. And then we also talked about, and this is no slight to the ACC because it's probably the second best conference in baseball, or close with the Big 12. SEC and ACC are different. SEC is, in my opinion, 2 to 3 times harder on a weekend to weekend basis than the ACC. Now, obviously, you have some good years and some bad years, and it fluctuates. But overall, SEC is better. He's going to benefit from being in the ACC, I think, and it's definitely a lighter schedule than what Tennessee has to face. So I think he's going to improve, which obviously covers Sean Sullivan and Seth Keener's loss like that. But then we go to the offense. Nick Kurtz last year in the College World Series had a banged-up rib that he really wasn't public about. Now, they did lose Brock Wilkin, but Seaver King, I mean, obviously this is on paper. He comes from Wingate. The kid obliterated anybody he plays. I think he's going to be okay, especially in the ACC. Then you look at guys like Cam Gill, Ethan Hawke. We saw what his brother did at like 4'11", sarcastically, but he's a stud. And Ethan Hawke didn't have bad small numbers, small, scale at UNC. He's used to ACC baseball. I think it's going to be a smooth transition for him. But I still think Kurtz in that smaller park is just going to be able to rake, especially now that he's healthy. I think we're almost maybe undervaluing the offense a little more. They're going to find guys. I mean, they're just a powerhouse right now. And I think the offense is going to be a little bit better than what we think, especially in the ACC. So I'm not saying they're my favorite to win Omaha, but I think they're pretty up there to at least make it.
Well, what did we say about LSU all last season as the number one team? We said their bullpen was terrible.
And it stood in it, but what happened? Yep. I mean, literally, we were right all season long. Their bullpen was a liability, and in May it ended up.
So maybe Wake Forest is that team for us this year that we say their offense can't get it clicking, and then they hit Omaha and bam, their offense gets clicking.
And one more point to that, they did their closer. Now they did take Virginia Tech's closer in the transfer portal, so that helps. Given the loss of Cole Rowland. Cole Rowland will be out till at least mid to late April. That could be beneficial, though. If he kind of comes back and can find his form, he's going to be a fresh arm come May and June, which could be phenomenal for that team. But that is a big loss to head into ACC play with.
For those of you who don't remember Cole Rowland, Cocaine Cole, he was the
Cocaine Cole.
He was the one that just kept jittering, throwing the ball up, popping it. He was tooted.
Check that rising bag because he keeps sniffing it.
Oh man, that dude is high class.
He could throw though, man.
Yes, he could. All right, so Florida Gators,
my guys.
2. I'll give you the floor, Q. What do we need to know that's not already in this guide about the Florida Gators?
They're going to win the national championship.
It's a bold claim.
I'm taking it. Look how they went down. They were 2 inches away from winning the College World Series last year in Game 1. They've reloaded. Bernie Donay strikes out a little bit, but a lot of people say he may have more raw power than Jack. Jack's just a little more consistent. Cade Curlin looked like a middle schooler last year, hit 17 bombs. The kid looks like a full-blown adult now. They get Colby Shelton. Dale Thomas has looked really good. Hayden Yost, a freshman, looks really good. They still return wow, I'm drawing a blank. They have to, and I'm drawing a total blank on his name. He played catcher. Wow. But anyways, Tyler Shelnut is going to be my X factor for this team. I think he's a senior this year. He's going to be playing a bunch of different spots. I think he's going to have a breakout year. He's torn it up in the fall. I think they're going to be a good place. You look at their pitching. I think their pitching is a little underrated, to be honest. Cade Fisher, he's not going to blow a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, but he was 6-0 last year. He came up clutch against Texas Tech, as well as in the College World Series. You get Brandon Neely back, who threw 60 innings, 55 innings. He can go 2-3 innings as a closer. He's one of the best closers in the game, top 3, in my opinion. Then you get guys like Fisher Jamison. You get Ryan Slater, one of the best middle relievers in college baseball right now. Pitched phenomenal for him last year. He's back looking great. Then there's this kid I keep telling you about, Liam Peterson. He might be the Friday night starter come May. And that's not even because Cade Fisher's doing anything bad, because this kid is that legit. And then, of course, you got Kaggs, the power hitter who is protected in a lineup. You can't just throw away to him because the other guys can hit home runs. But then his pitching has looked better in the fall. He had a little 3-quarter slot last year. He's a little higher, a little tighter, and they're saying it has improved his control. I mean, you can throw 101 with control. You can beat anybody in baseball. So I think this team, the way they lost last year, I know they're my team, but I think I'm pretty unbiased. Last year I did pick against them a couple times in some series. I think they're the national championship this year.
I hope that we get Florida and Arkansas in an all SEC affair as we dive into my Razorbacks.
That's the best matchup.
Ranked number 3. Okay, so shout out Mason Choate with Hog Beat. That's the Rivals Syndicate for Arkansas. We talked for probably an hour and 20 minutes the other day, but a couple of things. Transfer from Sacramento State. It is Vahiva, like with a V. Vahiva Aloy, and you want to remember that name. The kid's He has got some swag coming over from Sac State. Mason said he's a little shy in the media, but the kid brings it on at the plate, man.
We don't need him to
Jack
talk.
Wagner.
We don't
Jack
need him.
Wagner is
Jared's brother.
No, he's not.
He's not? Oh, I thought he was.
No. They're Wagner's spelled differently.
They're
too.
cousins. Arkansas cousins.
Jared Wagner with an E. Jack
cousins
Wag.
misspell. Yeah. He's a stud though.
Kendall Diggs, absolutely just monstrous this year. Monstrous expectations. Peyton Stovall, this is a guy that a lot of people may not pay attention to because his batting average has not been good. He's been hurt. But this guy turned down millions of dollars to come play college baseball at Arkansas. He was one of the top prospects, and he is finally 100% healthy. He's back. Peyton Holt, he's the glue guy on third.
He is the X factor to me. That guy kept that team together last year.
My biggest concern for the Razorbacks was going to be offense, but after seeing what they're doing in fall camp, I think we'll be just fine. Hagen Smith has been absolutely unhittable. Mason Molina was until yesterday. I think he got tattooed a couple times by some big hits. But Ben McLaughlin's probably going to be holding down first. And, it's just going to be a committee that Dave Van Horn puts together and finds that lineup that jives. And I think the biggest question mark for a lot of Razorback fans is the catcher position. We've got 4 guys that could all be legitimate starters. Yeah. Dave is really high on a freshman, Ryder Helfrich.
They'll all get playing time early.
Yeah, he's probably the best bat, best raw talent we've got. But, we've got some older guys too that are really good. Hudson White, one that transferred over from Texas Tech with Mason Molina. They're going to have a good year. I think definitely getting back to Omaha just with the pitching rotation between Hagen Smith, who I think is the best pitcher in college baseball this season. He has elevated his game to another level. And that
not just him, though.
2 scouts. He's touching 102, 103 miles per hour on his fastball. He's learned a splitter. Mason Molina, like I mentioned, from Texas Tech. And then you've got Brady Tigert probably falling in that Saturday slot. This pitching rotation is second to none.
Top 2 in the country. Yeah, top 2.
Outside of that, you have anything else to add about the Razorbacks? Or
no, I'd say this. I'm pretty certain in saying Florida and Arkansas make it. I hope they're on opposite sides so that you do have the chance of potentially having 2 of the best teams in baseball against each other. I would hate to see them have to eliminate each other prior to the finals.
I'd hate to see Arkansas have to eliminate Florida. All right. Your national champs, number 4, LSU Tigers, without Paul Skeens, without Ty Floyd, without Dylan Cruz. What are the Tigers going to do this year? I know I did the preview. I want to hear it from you, though, because I think I've heard this bullpen is now very good, which was a weakness last year. But Gavin Guidry and Thatcher Hurd, these were guys that are now going to be expected to step into starting rotation roles. I know they
have Ackenhauser still.
Yeah, you get Luke Holman from Alabama, which I think is big. We were high on Holman last year. He was the pitcher that was going to go for Alabama when the whole betting scandal happened. He ended up being scratched, and the rest is history. Gage Jump comes over from UCLA, but we talked about the Pac-12. The Pac-12.
He hadn't even pitched last year. He was hurt.
I don't know what to make of that. Can he really step into an SEC starter role and put up numbers? We'll see. But Thatcher Hurd, he was nothing to write home about last year. And Luke Holman will probably end up being your Friday night ace, I would assume. Outside of Tommy White on offense, I just think the Tigers lost way too much that I don't think Jay Johnson's going to be able to make it back to Omaha.
I think this team has the potential to be really good or not make Omaha at all. And I say that, if Thatcher Hurd from the College World Series shows up, they're gonna be great because if you go that herd that we saw, Luke Holman, and then I almost think Guidry is going to jump into the starting lineup. I mean, Gage Jump hasn't pitched in a long time, coming off injury. That's tough to then have to slide in the SEC. I think he's going to take some lumps early on, so that'd be interesting. But if you don't get the herd, if you get the inconsistent herd that we saw during the regular season, it's going to be a long season for these guys. I mean, they can hit, but I'm also curious to see. Tommy White didn't have the pressure last year. They had guys like Trey Morgan, who was the undeniable leader of that team. You had Hayden Travinsky, who could mash the ball. You had Dylan Cruz. You had Paul Skeens. You had all these guys to take the pressure off. Tommy could just go out there and just have fun, right? Tommy's the guy this year. Now, granted, he was the guy at NC State, but nobody really knew his name. He kind of blew up, but he was by himself. Then he goes to LSU where he's not. Let's see him prime time. We know what Tommy's about. We have an expectation for him. What is he in a spotlight? Then you also have to factor in the hungover feeling of a national championship. And not only that, but you look at the teams you're playing. Your schedule was extremely tough. You're not an ACC guy or a mid-major where you kind of just sleepwalk through half the schedule until you wake it up. You sleepwalk through the SEC, you're middle to lower tier, struggling to be a 2 or a 3 seed in a regional tournament. So they've got to be all cylinders, lights on from pitch one. So that'll be interesting to me. On paper, I think they have the guys that can do it. But what's up here going to be like? Does it get to their head? And then do these guys, perform to their best ability is the question. They have a lot of potential, but a lot of unknown at the same time.
And it's not uncommon for your national champ to miss Omaha altogether the following season, as we just saw Ole Miss do it. All right, let's get over to TCU and the Horned Frog squad. They returned a lot. Ben Abelt was a guy that I really kind of fell in love with over the postseason. Dude was money. And unfortunately, at the hands of the Arkansas Razorbacks batting lineup, I saw that. Cole Klecker returns. You got two-way player Peyton Tolley, I think is how we say it.
Yep.
Anthony Silva, Carson Bowen, they're back on offense. What do you think of the Horned Frogs as they're the shortest shot to win the Big 12? Really, the only Big 12 team preseason ranked in the top 25 outside of, I think, Kansas State and Texas, but they're on down the line. So what do you think? Do the Horned Frogs get back to Omaha with that magic?
I certainly think so because of their pitching. We always say that, while there's two factors to me that win you ball games, it's pitching, and we saw it last year. If you can't hit the home run in this day and age, you're just not going to make it that far. TCU kind of did it on a whim last year, so that's slightly concerning for me. They don't have a Jack Kaggs. They don't have a Tommy White type guy, Nick Kurtz. Maybe Peyton Tolley steps up into that role, but they have the pitching to get there. I think the Big 12 baseball is kind of down from the years we've seen. To your point, I think Texas Tech should be higher than what they are. They're not even in the top 25, but Texas just had a big loss. Luke Storm transfer from Duke's no longer going to play for them for unexpected reasons. I hope he's healthy. Two, I hope everything's all right, and I wish him the best of luck. But that's really going to hurt Texas. Texas is very unproven. They lost a lot of their veteran guys last year that were battle tested and run producers, so that's a question mark for me. There's really no reason why TCU can't make it back and have a pretty easy run, through the Big 12. Especially from the regular season. Now, I could see them not really caring about the Big 12 title because they made Omaha last year. They know what it's going to take. Are they going to rest those guys, in the tournament because they have bigger aspirations? That's something to look forward to as we gamble down the line into that territory of tournament bets, things like that. But TCU's got a lot of talent. Anthony Silva, Carson Bowen, Peyton Tolley offensively. We just got to see if they can kind of put it all together like they did last year. They've got the team to do it, and I believe in it.
All right. We'll see. I know a lot of TCU fans I met last year that do podcasts and stuff.
Glad Trey Richardson's gone now.
Lupton Drinking Club. Shout out. We'll see if your Horned Frogs are back in Omaha. Moving over to a team that I think is vastly overrated.
Yes.
Coming in the number 6 slot, Vanderbilt. I get it. Kind of.
No, you don't.
You've got the legacy of Tim Corbin. Devin Futrell, who was probably the best pitcher on that staff last year, Carter Holton returning, but the offense is horrible, and then it got worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Holton's the best pitcher by
Enrique
far.
Bradfield, who gave you such a spark last year, but this offense was abysmal. I don't know.
I'm drawing a blank. They lost their best hitter, transferred to what, NC State?
Who?
The name will come to me. It's Parker Holden.
Oh.
Yeah, he transfers their best hitter. Their offense sucks. Now, and this was
Jonathan Vastine and Chris Maldonado. Really,
they're not.
I mean,
Jaden Davis.
It's all going to fall on them, but nobody on that team batted over 1,000 at OPS.
You know, it's crazy though.
They
led the league though. They led the league in SEC, which I think was the most on paper stat of any last year. They sucked. Now, granted, they won the SEC tournament, but again, Florida, LSU, like they were preparing for regionals, supers, like they didn't care. Same with Arkansas. Carter Holton is healthy. I mean, he's the best pitcher when he is healthy. He was dominant for his first 3 starts, and he had some elbow soreness. Does that continue? Like, is he 100% healthy, and can he sustain that health? They have a great pitching, but again, pitching can only take you so far, and I don't see this offense getting any better than last year, personally.
Yeah, same. All right, Oregon State, a team we bet on last year, and won a little bit of money with their pitching staff. Yeah, I think the pitching staff really needs to step up. Jacob Kmatz and Aiden May should be a solid 1-2 punch in a Pac-12 that I just don't think has a lot of big hitters outside of Oregon State. So the Beavers are the shortest shot to win the Pac-12, probably appropriately priced. Do you think the Beavers end up in Omaha?
Yeah, I think they got an easy path. Traditionally, the West has an easier path, but I will say they always do get the 2-seed SEC team, which, you know, can be a pain. But generally, they have an easier path than maybe the South schools in the Midwest. I think Aiden May is going to get better. He kind of struggled at Arizona, but I think Oregon State's a better ball club. He's probably getting better, you know, coaching from a pitching aspect. So I think that'll be improved. We know what Jacob Kmatz is. I think this is a team that maybe is getting, I don't know if it's disrespect, but just maybe not as much love as they probably should as the number 7 team. I mean, Oregon lost a lot last year. They in my opinion, they kind of came out of nowhere. Do they sustain that? I'm not sure. Oregon State has shown sustainability. They've won several national titles in the last, 20 years. They're a team that I think is going to be legit. You look at their offense. I mean, Travis Bazzana, Kevin Tooley, a couple other guys. Brady Casper. They have a team that can hit. Corvallis is a baseball town. Stop sleeping on Oregon State. I think you're stealing money at plus 300 in the Pac-12, and I think to make Omaha is a pretty sure bet.
Yeah, those conference odds, they cut more so in half. But
yeah,
we got plus 300. I think the last time I saw it, they're like around even money. So
I think it's still worth it.
All right, Texas A&M. I know a lot of people are high on them. We're going to have to pick up the pace here. Their bats are going to be great. Pitching is where they struggled last year. And we'll see Montgomery, who is one of the biggest names in the transfer portal outside of Chase Burns. We'll see if he can come over and help out the Aggies. But I'm just not buying them yet. I need to see this pitching staff. They lost.
They got the coach to do it, though.
Their ace. Yeah. Schloss Nagel got to Omaha his first season at A&M, and they kind of fell off.
Yeah, so I agree. Long story short, they got
it's going to be a stud. He was last year. I don't think, like, here's the tough part. Omaha, you got 8 teams. Okay, are you putting A&M yet? In yet?
No. They're a top 12. They got to get to that 8, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but they're a team. They've got the talent to make it. It's just whether they pan out.
Yeah.
So I think long story short, pitching is their key.
All right, Tennessee. It's crazy. They go from, not being very good at hitting last year, having a really good pitching staff, and now it's flip-flopped. So, here at NCAA Insiders, me personally, I like pitchers. I'm going to handicap any team around their pitching staff. They do have a guy, Drew Beam. He was probably your best pitcher last year in a room with Chase Burns and Chase Dollander as far as stats go. He was the solidified guy that came in.
Yeah.
I think game 3 starter.
There's a difference though from Sunday to Friday.
For sure. And Cannon Peebles transfers over from NC State and Billy Amick from Clemson.
Yeah.
So,
there's still questions though. Still questions.
Tony Vitello is going to have a questionable staff, but at the end of the day, I think Tony V's the type of coach that's going to fire his guys up and could make it to Omaha.
Yeah. I mean, there's still questions on offense. They've improved on paper with Amick and Peebles, but Christian Moore had an up and down season. The 304 kind of makes him, in my opinion, a little inflated. Blake Burke's some of the most power in the country. What does he do? So they've just got to find consistency in hitting and pitching and put it together at the same time. So
shout out Harrison Statletics.
Go
follow them. He said, "Go Vols." I'm with you.
Throw some questions in the chat. We'll answer.
Dude, Vols are growing on me here. I think this team could be special. All right, ECU, America's darling, the first mid-major, the highest ranked mid-major, the Pirates behind Carter Spivey and Trey Savage. Okay, I like this Pirates team, and not just because of the pitching. I think this team should be able to run the American, and I want to see a couple mid-majors in the College World Series. But talk me out of it. You did the preview on them.
Yeah.
What am I missing with ECU outside of their – I know they've got a lower tier offense, but the pitching is pristine in my opinion.
The offense, I mean, they have guys, Jacobs Cowart, Makarevich, Lane Hoover. They battle tested guys. Carter Cunningham really has to step up. The problem I see here is I'm sorry, Makarevich, I don't believe he's there. I think he transferred to NC State. Yeah. Anyways, Trey Savage is good. Josh Grosey's not there. Carter Spivey's not there. Jesus, did you even touch this slide? This is last year's. Beal, they've got some good dudes. Offense, man, they're not consistent. And this, I'm not going to dime any names out, but sources say Cliff Godwin. Sometimes it's a shit show behind the locker room doors. Sometimes the consistency is not there. So they've got to put it together. And East Carolina doesn't blow you out of the water. They've got to get the perfect bracket matchup, and sadly they haven't in several years. So hopefully they get a weaker ended bracket and they can finally break that curse, because I think ECU fans out in Omaha would burn that city down.
All right, let's move over to Duke. You did the preview on them. Their pitching staff is really good. Fran O'Shell, he's going to be a really good reliever. He may be a starter.
I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
They've got to stay healthy on the mound.
Devils.
If they can stay healthy on the mound, they've got top 5 pitching staff in the country from starters to bullpen. Offense is going to be their problem. Outside of Alex Stone, they're pretty unproven. So offensively, they've got to find some guys to step up, and pitching-wise, they've got to stay healthy. That's just bottom line.
All right. As I sit here and frantically go through to find East Carolina, because I pulled a lot of this information off D1.
You're fine, dude.
They're wrong. We're wrong. All right. NC State, another ACC team that you did the preview on.
Hey, there's Alec Makarevich. There he is.
See, I knew I typed that name twice, and I should have gone back and looked, but
it's fine. Wake Forest baseball still has Lucas Castillo starting for him. So
I did not proofread this, but also I sent this out to several college baseball minds, and you all missed it. So
shame on us.
Yeah, there we go.
This team highly overrated, in my opinion. I think their pitching staff is okay. I think they're consistent, but they're not dominant. I think you have to be dominant in the ACC. Offensively, they've got a couple guys that can hit well. Makarevich is probably their best hitter. Jacob Cozart, probably one of the best catchers in baseball. But outside of that, they're kind of unproven. I think their pitching staff, again, they're not elite. 13, in my opinion, is too high. Now, I will say this team, man, they do exceed expectations. So I hope they prove me wrong. It's cool to see NC State when they're good in baseball, but I think they lost too much last year from the mound as well as hitting to really make a splash.
Let me tell you, this pitching staff has been here, it seems like forever.
Yeah.
Matt Willadson pitched against Kevin Kopps in the Fayetteville Super Regional.
It's crazy, man.
Like 4 years ago. What's going on? All right. Anyways, Virginia getting to another one. Man, you had to go back to back doing the ACC preview. Virginia Cavaliers. I like this team a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
I liked them last year. Was it Woolfolk that they lost the pitcher? No, you've got him.
Well, they lost all 3 of their starters.
Connolly.
They lost Connolly. Yeah, they've lost Edgerton. Brian Edgerton was a stud on Saturday. Now, Jack O'Connor was a freshman last year. He was their off and on Sunday guy. I like him a lot to kind of lead it. Brad Hodges. And then Jay Woolfolk, we don't really know what he's going to be. I mean, last year he was kind of their setup man / closer in high impact times. They're trying to stretch him out to maybe be that Sunday starter, but I could see him kind of being in that Brandon Neely role where, like last year, he had 30 innings. Maybe this year he has 60. So you get a 2-3 inning kind of guy. Brian O'Connor figures out pitching. He just does. He's a legend at it. I'm not concerned when there's names that I necessarily don't jump out to me because I know he's going to be fine in that aspect. Don't stress the pitching. The offense, they lost a little bit of power last year with Kyle Teal leaving. Wow, I can't even think of his name. It was their best hitter. Jake Geloff, I'm sorry, and Ethan O'Donnell, the center fielder that really shined late. But they got guys. Ethan Anderson's one of the more powerful catcher, first baseman, utility guys out there. Griff O'Farrell batted just under 400. Jacob Ferenc should be really solid. They have some other guys in the lineup. They're going to hit the ball. There's no doubt about that. They're a very good gap hitting team. They're going to stroke you for doubles all day long and score runs. This Virginia team is one of the few teams that doesn't need power to beat you. They beat you with fundamental baseball, and they are probably the best college in fundamental baseball in all of college baseball year in and year out. I think if you take Virginia to win the ACC, it's not a bad idea. I mean, it sucks they have to go through Wake Forest to do it, but they're a team that they don't have to win the ACC to make it to Omaha.
They've got a pretty favorable schedule. They really don't play
a lot of home games.
They don't really play a whole lot of tough games. They do have a game with Iowa on February 24th. That should be a fun game.
Yeah, for sure.
But then they go at Miami, and then they get Wake Forest at home.
Big.
North Carolina at home, at Louisville, and at Duke. But I don't know. There's something special about the Cavs this year. I think they find their way back to Omaha. Speaking of North Carolina, man, Jake Knapp.
Yeah. That was their whole pitching staff, in my opinion. And he was hit or miss.
I've not heard Jake Knapp out for the season.
Yeah,
or
out for the season.
Miss majority of the time. Sucks, man. Spring injuries before the season starts. Arkansas has been through them. Just a tough thing. But anyways, give us the scoop on the rest of the Tar Heels.
They've got probably the best pitching class in terms of freshmen coming in. Jake Knapp was kind of their leader. Last year, Connor Bovair really couldn't get it done. So it sounded like they were sliding him back into the pen. He might have to slide back up now just due to attrition. It's a lot of pressure on those freshmen. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying it's extremely hard to do in the ACC. And offensively, they're going to score, but they're also going to give up a lot of runs. I mean, if for the first few weeks, if you can find some overs, take them because it's going to be ugly.
All right. Texas Longhorns. This is a team I really like. I think they're undervalued here. Now, they did just lose the transfer from Duke. What'd you tell me? Luke Storm. Yeah, he just has decided to step away from baseball altogether.
Yeah, he's probably their best power hitter on paper.
That sucks. Porter Brown, solid. Peyton Powell, solid. Tanner Witt was a guy that last year he came back from injury. He really struggled. I mean, you see it almost an 11 ERA. That's not going to cut it. LeBaron Johnson Jr., he really stepped up later on in the season. I think, you had Pete Hansen, then you had Lucas Gordon. I just think Texas reloads that Friday night guy, and LBJ is about to be that guy for Texas. If Tanner Witt can live up to some of his hype and play well, Texas is going to be a very dangerous team. You've also got Charlie Hurley, who played a lot last year. I love Texas, and I think they're going to be the one team. I think they're going to be the one team that really challenges TCU for the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner Witt's the X factor for that team.
All right, going over to another mid-major darling in the Gauchos, UC Santa Barbara. I know a lot of people are high on them. This pitching staff is great. Mike Gutierrez, Matt Agar, Hudson Barrett, one of the best closers in college baseball, coming into the season with a sub-2 ERA. Just absolutely solid. Offense, not that flashy, but they should be able to get it done in a Big West that's not very good. I took them plus 110 to win the conference. I just feel like that's free money. When you've got top-tier teams in a bad conference, like they're going to win every series, every weekend. Yeah. I mean, we saw Campbell do it last year. They may drop 1 or 2 games, but in conference play, when you're talking about this bet being plus 110 and all they have to do is win more regular season conference games than their opponents, that's value to me. When you've got Indiana State minus 150, who lost a lot, and you've got UC Santa Barbara plus 110, you've got teams like Coastal Carolina, which we're going to get into next. Do you have anything to add on UC Santa B?
Nah, it's one of the teams. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't cover a major amount. I mean, I know they brought back Yeager, Hudson Barrett, but again,
shout out Todd.
Perfectly.
Love you, buddy. Thank you for previewing these.
He'll be on. He'll be on. He had some stuff to do today, but we'll slowly enter him into the college baseball realm. I'm sure he's got a UC Santa Barbara he can tie to an 80s one-hit wonder song.
Probably so. All right, Coastal Carolina, another one that I'm high on. Took them plus 2.
I like this team a lot.
Maybe plus 275. They can absolutely rake. I mean, this is a team that is going to outscore you. I don't care if they win 20-19.
They just hit, man.
The Chanticleers are going to be good. I think Riley Eichhoff could really step up too.
I do too. I think Darren Horn as well.
Matthew Potok, I think he's back. He was a guy that pitched last year. I think they've got the guys there. I don't think they're elite by any means, but in a Sun Belt conference that is good, not great. I think their offense is just at such an elite level. Nobody's going to be able to outscore them. Their best shot is going to be pitching against them.
For sure.
I mean, you're just going to have to throw your best guy and hope that you can cool down these bats.
Well,
Alabama,
to touch on them real quick.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gary Gilmore, 2000. He's been with them for. Gary Gilmore's a head coach. He's been with them for 25 plus years. He won a title in 16 when nobody thought they would. Baseball, and this is going to sound crazy, and just please go with me because it's tried and true in the sport. Superstition in baseball is a real thing. It's one of the most gut feeling sports that you can do and see play out. And Gary Gilmore's last year is this year. He came out last year and said it. He said last year he didn't even know what to expect from this team, and they make it all the way to regionals. They were a team that definitely overperformed. They already hit. Baseball is a weird sport where a coach's final ride-off could be in Omaha. Even though this is a mid-major, this is how it works. And every 8 years, we've seen, thanks to Ben Upton for finding a stat, a mid-major wins a College World Series. They were the last team to do it 8 years ago. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but in baseball, stars do align. That's a real thing. Coastal's got the mix, man. A legendary coach, a great storyline, a hell of an offense. And like you said, Eichhoff and Darren Horn, you really only need a couple stud pitchers. I think they might have the team that can get it done.
I agree. And believe me, I know how the world can turn for a baseball team.
Yeah.
Because I watched Arkansas do it against Oregon State. One foul ball drop.
Literally.
And
Moist the salute for the Cubs.
We're going to lose that game. And we might as well not even show up to play game 3 because we lost that game on that one play.
Storylines in baseball are a real thing.
It is a real thing. All right, Alabama Crimson Tide. Their new head coach just escaped me. I may have put it in the guide, but I can't read it right now.
I'm drawing his blank, but he came from Maryland.
They've had success with teams from Maryland. Bear Bryant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Durkin, what was the last guy that got in trouble for like
DJ
beating kids or something?
Nah, DJ had a player die on his watch.
No, that was it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But I'll say this, man. Down year for the Tide. Down year.
Getting Hess is good. I think outside of that, their starting pitching rotation's going to struggle. Aiden Mosa, he didn't get a lot of innings last year. I don't know how good they're going to be against the SEC. That's the problem, man. The SEC just kind of cannibalizes each other. You've got to have really good pitching staff. You got to have really good bats. If you don't have them in like week in and week out, you're not going to win the SEC. It's going to be very tough to even finish above 500 in the SEC. And we've kind of seen that. I mean, the two elite teams in the SEC last year, Arkansas, Florida, LSU, you throw them in. They are obviously elite, but I'm thinking win totals. You got 20. Arkansas and Florida tied with 20 and 10. LSU had less than that. So, like, it's tough, man. If you can just win 2 out of 3, you're good. But Alabama, I just don't think they've got enough in the tank. I think they can sneak one win, but when you're talking about going up against the other teams Friday night, got to. I just don't think this lineup's going to have enough.
Do you think, and this is my only question because you said it perfectly, do you think we'll get Alabama lines again? Or do you think Brad Bohannon really ruined it? Because last year, they kind of put the lines out.
Yeah, I think we will. I sound like I smoked Marlboro Reds last night. I can't shake this COVID flu thing we've got going on. All right. If you don't have anything else to add, I cannot wait to talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes. Brody Brecht, Marcus Morgan, I think best 1-2 punch in the Big Ten, which is not really
Cade Oberliner, or however you say his name. Cape Obermuller, something like that.
If it's a 1-2 punch, that's just 2.
It's a 3-hitter.
I can't.
That's
really
a combo.
Tie in a 1-2-3 punch, but if you did, you could. Okay, Iowa Hawkeyes. This is a very good team last year, and Brody Brecht really didn't bring his best stuff. They upset LSU, if you remember that game. We were on it, plus 200 and something. I can't remember. But I think the Hawkeyes are really talented in what is going to be a pretty down Big Ten. I know a lot of people are high on Indiana. Maryland lost a lot. You know, there were a team last year we backed with like Jason Savacool and that pitching rotation. But I really think it's the Hawkeyes and everybody else, and I think that's pretty evident in their conference odds. So I did bet the Hawkeyes, and we'll get into that later in the best bets. But do you have anything else to add on this team? I'm really excited to see how Brecht improves. I mean, this dude was touching like 103, 104. And, you know, if he could just get that control down,
well, I think he will
be next level.
I think he will. People don't realize he was a 2-time athlete playing for football as well. He's dropped football, so this is his 100% obligation, which that takes a lot on a college athlete between education and trying to manage 2 schedules. Now he's able to focus on baseball. I think it's going to pay dividends. The best, top 5 rotation with those 3 guys. Offense, they don't have any major names. I mean, Michael Seager's one of their better hitters, Sam Peterson. As long as they can kind of stay consistent on offense, their pitching staff is just going to anchor them down. And then, I think that like you said, the Big Ten, it's almost mid-major baseball at this point. Really, their only competition this year is going to be Indiana, and we'll touch on them. But I think Indiana's just got to show it to me. I mean, they haven't in the past few years. So with Iowa showing us what they did last year and Indiana not really showing us, I've got to lean Iowa here. And I have a ticket on them.
Getting over to some more Big 12. You got the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Gavin Cash, Kevin Basil. These guys, are you going to be surprised if the Red Raiders end up in Omaha?
No, I think it's and I'm strongly considering almost going against my TCU bet with Texas Tech. I think it's like plus 625. I think this team, as long as their pitching staff with Zane Petty, Kyle Robinson, and some guys like that can just stay consistent, they've got one of the best offenses in the country on paper. I mean, they can hit lights out with power. They did it against Florida. They're a good team in a Big 12 that I think is a little down, as we talked about earlier. I think they have the offense, and as long as their pitch can hand, they can take down TCU. Texas Tech is one of those dark horse dangerous teams. They've just got to put it all together at the same time.
Smitty said no Penn State. I got to put these on here. He's been killing it in the comments.
Hey, Penn State's going to be better, though. They got, before we touch on them, they got a brand new coach. They stole Boston College's new coach, and Adams Series, their biggest player in probably Penn State history. It's looking up.
All right, UCLA Bruins. Look, outside of, I think, Deuce Gorson, this team just kind of put me to sleep while I was previewing it. Nothing
past
really
3 years
excites me. I mean, and that's been the case. Yeah, I was about to say. It's been the case for a few years now. Coming off 28-24-1, they tied season last year. I mean, this team doesn't excite me. They're plus 750 to win the conference. I don't think that's a good value bet. They are preseason ranked number 22, but why? I mean, they don't really have a solid pitching staff. Hitting is going to be down in the Pac-12 altogether. I feel like, I don't know. I take them or leave them. I mean, it's like D1 just had to put another Pac-12 team in here, I guess.
They didn't, yeah.
And it's not Stanford. All right. I love this team. Northeastern Huskies. They're going to win it all. Not really. Probably not. But led by Mike Sirota, Avon Cabrel. Dude, Wyatt Scotty, they have a very legit pitching staff. They have a tough lineup in Sirota and Maldonado. I think, and JP, look at that. Brand recognition wins out. I completely agree. This is why you just bet these little mid-major darlings to make the College World Series. You can find these odds. Bet Rivers has them. I think FanDuel may have them. I can't remember. I'll try to look and
take them to win their conference if they're plus money. I don't care if it's plus 100. I don't care if it's
they were plus
800.
Plus
take it. It's value.
Yeah, they should have been minus 150 if Indiana State's minus 150.
I agree. Like, that's where the value is. It's 100 points of value.
Hang that type of number on Indiana State and then not do that for teams like UCSB and
100 points of value there.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you guys for the comments. It's been fun.
Yeah, appreciate
it. Okay, we're almost done, y'all. This has been a long show. All right, number 24, Kansas State. I alluded to it earlier. Owen Barema, 5 ERA guy. Tyler Rule, another 5 ERA guy. Yeah. But Tyson Neighbors, best closer in the country, probably. Bats are so-so. Nobody hit over 1,000 OPS, to my knowledge, last year that had any significant.
They're just going to get base hits. Timely hits.
Yeah, but in a Big 12 where you've got some pretty salty guys in like Cole Klecker and LBJ and some other guys, tough. I'm sure Oklahoma State's always got guys.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
You give K-State any love here?
Not in the conference. I think the season's just too long. I think there's a couple teams that are just going to dominate it. But, they could get hot, make a College World Series run. I'm not saying it's possible, but they have the pitching staff to do it if their offense can stay consistent. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not as high on him as you are. I mean, I'm extremely high on Ty Neighbors, but he's one guy. That's a lot to ask just coming out of the Big 12.
Yeah, and a closer.
On the right track, though. On the right track.
Let's be honest. A closer is only good if you have a lead, and I don't know how many leads they're going to, they're going to come into him.
They're getting better, though.
Yeah. Okay. 24-25, South Carolina. This is a team that I just feel like got put in here because there was no one else to put in.
Good Eli offense. Jones, I think that's why.
They returned guys that didn't throw a whole lot of innings last year. Eli Jones was probably their best returning pitcher. Cole Messina, sure. Gavin Cassis, though, Ethan Petrie, who had a phenomenal freshman season. The team can hit. All right, they're going to be legit. Pitching is going to be the biggest question mark.
Yeah.
You lose guys, and their names have escaped me. Mahoney.
I can picture him. Mahoney, your guy from Conway.
Yep. James Hicks.
Yep, James Hicks. But they did get their closer back, Chris Veach, a little short guy. He had a little arm issue towards the end of last season, but he can lock it down. This team's definitely going to put themselves in a position offensively to win. It's just, what's the starting rotation do? Becker had some good moments, but he wasn't consistent.
And this was a team last year that I ended up jumping on like midway through because their odds had gotten so out of whack because of, early season. They couldn't figure out the pitching staff, but like you could tell all the tools were there. So this may be a team you just monitor closely. The odds right now to make the College World Series are plus 180 to win it all.
Like
plus
it.
2,500. Like that's not great. Their odds are actually more of what like a top 10 team would be. So just pump the brakes on the Gamecocks and we'll see. You have anything else before we get into conference and best bets?
Nope.
What are you even doing here?
I don't know. I mean, you said it best. Why repeat you?
All right. Well, I'm just trying to stall to pull up slides. I've been doing a lot of work behind. I'm the producer of the show too. All right, conference pick 'em. I'm gonna let you roll through them. I'm so glad Johnny V didn't curse us with the like pick 'em and all do Wake Forest because I do think Wake Forest wins this conference. But I like the Virginia bet.
I do too.
We're all unison on Iowa as well. But I'll let you kind of go through. Yeah.
Preface: this isn't ACC tourney. This is just regular season. So you're going to have a regular season champion, but you're also going to have the ability to bet a ACC tourney. So don't stress. Wake Forest is probably not going to win ACC tourney. They didn't last year. They don't care about it. I think they can win the division, on a regular season basis. Got us, like I said earlier, I know Johnny and Noah's on Indiana. For me, I have to see it go from paper to on the field. I respect their picks. I see why they make their picks. But Yumi and Smitty are on Iowa. I think we just have to be proven otherwise with that top 3 rotation. You're on Texas. You're a little higher than me. I just have to see their offense be consistent as well as Tanner Witt. I like TCU. I think the pitching will get it done in a semi-down Big 12. I think Texas Tech can contend them. That would be the team that I would bet in place of TCU if I had to. I think you're crazy with Oregon. I think Oregon State is I like that. I like that we didn't go unison, but I think Oregon State's just head and shoulders going to be above. And then, but Eugene has some magic, so you might be onto something. We talked about Breck earlier, JP. He's now focused on baseball. I think you'll see an improved Breck, which will get him deeper and more consistent. I like Arkansas. I know you don't like me taking that team, but I think when you look at the schedule, I think they have the easier schedule in terms of their harder matchups are at home, which is an advantage. Florida is a good away team, so that may cancel out. It may not. But Arkansas has got the better pitching staff. Florida may have the better offense. Pitching usually gets you a little bit farther. Smitty, I can see why you take Florida 100%. To me, those are the top 2. I don't think you're wrong either way. Noah, the Vols, I mean, if they can put it together, they're one of the best teams in the country. The problem is we just have to see, we haven't seen them put it together in a couple years at the same time. If they can, you're looking on some golden value there.
Yep. And for me, like Oregon, okay, I talked about Oregon State. They are your obvious favorite. They're the favorite for a reason. Oregon's got a better pitching staff, in my opinion. And getting 8-1 on a team, not preseason ranked top 25, I think this team
they don't have an offense, though.
They could fly under the radar. Nobody in the Pac-12 has an offense.
Oregon State's got a quality offense.
Fine.
Not powerful, but they're quality.
You know what I thought would be a fun bet is USC, like plus 2,200.
I'm not buying it. You said this last year, and Stromberg, Aoki,
like hour. They have to drive an hour to play their home team.
It's not happening. Not happening.
It's unfortunate.
Don't even put that on the airwaves. Redact that. He did not mean that. Southern Cal is not going to do anything. They haven't since the 60s.
Information. If you believe in the dream season,
yeah, all right.
They had to travel an hour down to Irvine to play.
It's crazy.
It's team of destiny. Caden Aoki. Dude, USC's pitching staff is really good. Oregon's is really good.
Were they going to win 1-0 games?
Logan Mercado.
1-0 games.
We'll see. Guys, that's it. We're in an hour. I'm going to throw back up here these preseason rankings.
Find our
bets in.
Yeah. We have more plays. We're just not – I'm not going to sit there and read them off. play by play. I've retweeted them yesterday on X. You can find them pretty easily if you just scroll down through our tweets. So we've posted all of them, I think, to date, and you'll be able to also find them. We got to update the bet tracker here before the season, so they'll be on our website as well.
Yeah, I've got to update some of mine too because I haven't done it. All right. Thank you guys for being here. This was kind of a rough show. We'll get back in the groove.
It's just long. That's all.
Yeah. It's
a lot of information.
Yeah. All right. So for the outro, a little take me out to the ball game. Cheers, boys. We'll be back next Friday.